All right, let's see what we got today. Gotta hurry up before market does something. All right, 15-minute chart. Let's see what we got today. We got pre-market lows down there. So we got pre-market lows back and Friday's lows really close to each other. So I'm just gonna mark out Friday's lows down there. Hopefully we can get some kind of reaction. Let me go to the 30-minute time frame, see if we have anything. Not really. We got that 15 minutes. Go back. The other swing high would be like this up here. We do have a little bit of a something like up here, this pivot point area. Also decently interested, tapping into that pivot point, tapping into there's a gap up there, so also a pretty interesting area to see what happens. It's pretty much the only areas right now. Zoom into, adjust this. We'll see what happens here. Good morning, guys. Good morning, guys and girls, guys and gals. What's the resistance line you're using instead of the pivots? Those are just 15-minute sweeps. 15-minute liquidity sweeps. Made 4K overnight, short at 875 this morning. Dang. I'm not much of an overnight trader. I don't want to think about, but man, if I've seen some nice trades happen overnight. But me, yeah, was never much of an overnight. Maybe I should start. Alright, let's see what happens here. Let me actually mark this out real quick on my other chart, just so I can kind of see what's going on the 15-minute without having to switch. We got that. We got that. And then we got up there. We'll see what happens up here. Pretty interesting area if we can get some kind of a setup off this. So far we're just haven't swept it yet. Overall we're kind of on a downtrend too, in a see the 60-minute time, hourly chart. You can see what's going on the hourly chart. Right, kind of there's a big gap up there too, so still having trouble. NQ futures, yes. NASDAQ, the one and only. All right, let's see if we get that push through. Depending on how strong they push it through this level, it'll be interesting to see what happens. Where's view op? Oh crap, we're right there. Oh, I don't like that. I don't like that view op is on. I don't need that drawn. I don't like that view op is right there. I really don't. Bouncing off that gap. See what happens at this. There's a tiny gap right there. I guess let me mark it out actually. There's a tiny gap right there. Let me turn on AC real quick. I don't know why AC's not turning on. What's up? What's up? All right, hasn't taken out that high yet. Ugh. We're right at view op. There's gonna be some chop here. You know, I forgot to check the news. We got any news today? Today, not really. Not much news today, so nothing news-wise. Don't have to worry about news screwing me up. Alright, we're still right below view op. Very tough area. I would personally like to get away from view op. I don't like trading. This is Ninja Trader. The brokerage is Ninja Trader, but I'm trading with prop firms. Alright, let's see the push out of... There's gonna be some chop here until it gets out of view op territory. There's gonna be some chop here. Pushing pretty strong out of view op. Let me delete this right here. See what happens. You could kind of see what's going on the 15-minute chart. When you look at the 15-minute chart, you see what's going on, right? We got this 15-minute kind of level up here. We got a pivot point. We also got a lot of resistance up here. So why are you trading no news Monday? Yeah, well, I always trade even if it's a no news Monday. You just got to be careful. On no news Mondays, there's nothing wrong to trade no news Mondays. You got to be careful with your expectations, right? You can't be expecting crazy moves on a no news Monday. That's the thing. If you do trade, what the heck? If you do trade, you know, have to take quick profits. You can't hold for big moves. Got to be careful. I never hold for big moves, so it doesn't really affect me. But the people who do hold for these, like, you know, big targets, it does affect them. So, man, getting this kind of rejection without sweeping that level, so not something I really like to see. Like I said, we're going to get a lot of chop here until we kind of, you know, get away from that view op. We're literally, view op is right here in this area, so once we get away, chopping right below and above view op. Appreciate the likes. Thank you. Let's see. Can we get that push? Getting a strong rejection, but hasn't taken out that high, which is fine. It is what it is. Let's see that if it can dump through this, maybe it can go to that pre-market. Down there, we got that pre-market low paired with Friday's low. If you look on the 15-minute chart, right? We got down here Friday's low. Or is this Friday's low, or is this August 15th? It's Fridays. So we got this low down here paired with pretty much pre-market low, barely, like, it didn't sweep it. It came down there. Right now we're getting a massive rejection off the 15-minute time frame. Huge rejection. Wow. That's the other area, is like down here, this level. If it can take it out, pretty interesting area of, you know, seeing what happens there. Now we're below view op. At this point, we're below view op, so we're pushing down. This is NASDAQ futures. Man, why does it do that? Couldn't have, the market, what I've noticed, the market recently, it's been doing this crap. It's been pushing up to a level without taking it out and then dumping right off that level, which is like, I don't know why, it's weird. Let me see it. Now it's, what is this? The 200. Right, it's trying to bounce off that 200. Pushing up, holding this maybe as resistance to go lower. Old support turns into new resistance, right? So we're holding this as support, broke it down. Now it's trying to retest it as resistance to maybe continue going down. See what happens. We got that level down there. Man. So, didn't quite. It took out this, if you look on the 15-minute chart, right? It took out this bottom level. You got a bunch of wicks here, right? You got a bunch of wicks right there. So it took out all these wicks, but it didn't take that last wick, right, that I had marked out. I wanted it for a price to take out this last wick to tap into this gap. So it took out all these wicks and then dumped. As you could see, it perfectly took them out and then dumped. But man, I wanted it to take out that last wick before it dumped. Didn't get that. We did have a gap that got inversed right there, so man, it is what it is. I'm still trying to bounce. See if they reject it here. Gotta kind of reject it here. There's a tiny gap there. Gotta reject it here to go lower. Or else they push it back to those highs, which... There's a pivot up there still too. $9.46. All right, we got a little bit of time. View op chop. This freaking area here. I told you it was gonna chop around here. We're stuck right in between view op and the 200. Literally, like, view op is right here. Where's view op? View op is in this area right here, so it's still below view op, but it's literally just bouncing back and forth between that 200 and the view op. We need to kind of break that 200 and then start moving down. If it, you know, if we push it lower. So it's fine. I'll be patient for it to get away from view up. I don't want to be longing or shorting right into view up, right? So I kind of want price to get away from it, so then we can kind of get a move back up to view up, maybe to retest it. Starting to push. Starting to push. Let's see what happens here. The only issue of it taking out this high now is we got view up right there, so I got to be careful for that. If I do take a trade, it had to be very lightly sized, just because I always go in very light size when we're right next to view up. If I take a trade at view up, I always go very light size, because I'll still usually take the trade, but yeah, lighter size. Versus if we're further away from view op and I have a trade set up that I have no, like, you know, nothing stopping price from hitting my TP, I'll go heavier in size. We'll see what happens here, though. It's not sweeping any lows. Well, it swept this internal low, actually. So we'll see. Potentially, I just hope it doesn't chop here all morning long. What's the main thing to know about trading? I would say the two biggest things, and this is just the way I look at the market, is market likes to take out highs and lows, or liquidity, and fill imbalances in the market. Like two main things that the market kind of does, how it kind of moves. So I think when you understand those two things and you can kind of incorporate strategies based off of that. But there's not just a couple. I mean, the market's complex. It's not, you know, simple. So there's a lot of things to know about the market. But those are kind of the two basic things. And then just understanding price action. Man, let's get away from here. This is what I was worried about, for price to get stuck in between here. We're starting to break through. If it can kind of break through, if it can break through these lows and kind of go down here for that 10 o'clock maybe reversal happen, if we can get that 10 o'clock reversal today, it would be nice. There, it's dumping. See, we're back below view op or below that 200. So as price gets away from view op, a lot of times you could start to see it kind of ramp up to one direction versus chopping to the side. So I like this. If we can get that sweep for that maybe 10 o'clock reversal for it to happen, would be nice. And for those who don't know, there usually is some kind of a, not usually, well, a lot of times there's a 10 o'clock reversal where price likes to reverse around 10 o'clock after dropping, after dumping. See what happens here. There's that liquidity sitting down there. This is NASDAQ futures. See that liquidity sitting down there? We'll see what happens after it takes out the liquidity. I just hope it doesn't form this big gap right here, because then it kind of sucks long. We'll see. Kind of hope price fills this gap and then makes another gap down here. Pushing up. Because then what's going on is you're longing from a bigger gap, from a big gap into another bigger gap, which is a little bit. Like I said, I like to have the less things for price to stop, you know, less things for price to have to get through to get to my TP is better. Like a straight shot to my TP is better, but even something like this, if this gap, say, gets inversed and it's inversing it into another gap, right, it's kind of like, it could reverse off this gap, which it's got to get through this gap, and then it's got to get through this gap too to go back up to the highs up here. Or kind of, if you do take a long, you may have to take a long into this gap, depending on the risk to reward would have to be there. If like a tinier gap gets set up, so if it like sweeps it, inverses it back up into this gap, but the risk to reward would have to be, you know, for it to make sense. We'll see. Maybe it's gonna do that same crap that it did up here. Is it's gonna get really close to sweeping it and then just gonna rip right back up. I don't know why it's been doing that recently, but it's been super annoying. Like I haven't been getting any trades. No trade here because it didn't sweep it. Is it gonna do the same thing down here? That BS freaking chop fest. Makes sense because there's no news today, right? No news Mondays, you gotta be careful. A lot of chop fest. Chop fest Monday. No, I don't really look at other stocks. I just look at NASDAQ. Whatever NASDAQ is doing. Where's the view up? See if we... I want to get away from this. Man. Starting to reject off that gap. There's a gap there. Unbelievable. If it inverses this gap, right? For me, it invalidates that gap. Once it inverses it, it invalidates it. So, and meaning if it inverses this gap and then closes back below, it invalidates that gap. So then you kind of be looking for another gap to form to the upside. But it hasn't swept it, so there's nothing to do here. Right? I want it to take out these lows. If I'm thinking about like a reversal trade, I want these lows to get taken out so these lows become protected lows, right? So that if I have my stop down there, those lows are protected. Alright, let's see. Appreciate the follow. Are you waiting to go higher down? I'm waiting for it to take out this line down here. For it to come down here, for it to sweep this line, and then potentially reverse. But so far what it's been doing this morning is this crap. Like I was waiting for this sweep, for this move lower. I was waiting for this move lower, but never got the full sweep. It literally came up and then dumped right back down. So it looks like that's what's happening here too, where it's not even taking that level out. It's just, you know. Right, market, you want to buy low and sell high, isn't that's the whole point of the market. You don't want to buy high and then sell lower. The whole point is to buy low and sell high. So you have to wait for the market to come to you. You don't, you know, just willy-nilly just buy because the market's moving up. See, we have this gap that it's kind of respecting still, right? This This gap is being respected. We'll see maybe if we can, regardless, if it doesn't take out this low, there's nothing to trade for me. It's gotta take, for me, it's gotta take out this low. I'm not taking a trade until it takes out that low. Because I don't want to take a long, right? And then for price to come back down, stop me out, take out the low, and then, you know, rip right back up. It's about to go up. I hope so, off this low. There's something where you can sell it when it goes low and make money. Yeah, it's called a short, right? You can. There's two ways to make money on the market. You buy low and you sell high, or the other way to make money in the market is you sell high and buy low. So when you're shorting, you are selling, and then you are buying back at a lower price for a profit. All right, so we're dumping through this level. Let's see what happens here. I wonder if we're gonna get another gap to form here. Hasn't taken it out yet. Hasn't taken it out. It's come like freaking a tick away. Look at that. Oh my gosh. Let me make sure my level on the 15-minute chart is marked correctly. It is marked correctly. It's that low right there. Because one time I accidentally marked it incorrectly and then it screwed me up. So I think we'll push through it. But you could see, right, these levels that I draw, you could see the buying pressure that starts stepping in at these levels. Let's see what happens here. We have a tiny gap form there. Let me get my... Let me see something. If I go in kind of light size, what's that gonna be? Let's say so far nothing. What time frame you using? The 15-minute chart and the 1-minute chart paired together. I do use other time frames, but mainly the 15 and 1 minute. Nope, nothing. Nothing yet. Hasn't taken out that low. Freaking little bastard. Oh, NASDAQ. What is up with NASDAQ lately? This freaking just blew my XFA. Oh, come on, man. Patience. Patience. You gotta be patient for the moves. There's a tiny, tiny gap there, but holy rejection. My goodness. There's a very tiny, tiny, tiny gap, but like, man, that's something that's like, the fact that it's not taking out that low is freaking annoying as oh my gosh. Bro, like literally so freaking close. Just made a double bottom pretty much. I swear, if it reverses here without taking out that low. Complete just BS. Come back down. Oh, crap. What do I do? Let's go. Market doesn't give you what you want, it's just what you want to see, right? You don't take a trade. There's still that low down there. That low has not gotten taken out. So for the people that are trying to long this right now, can it work out? Yes. But what can also happen is it could come out, take out this high right here, and then it can dump right back down to that low and stop you out. That's why I kind of wait for that 15 minutes. See what happens here. We got a gap, right? Got this gap and we got a gap right above it. So a lot of resistance up here. Could probably take out this high, tap into this gap, maybe go back down and reverse back down after taking out this internal high. There's that internal high. There's the gap. Got filled. Now, let's see what happens at this gap. Does it keep pushing through, or is this going to be a level where it fills this gap and then dumps right back down? I mean, to me, it's... Let's see. NASDAQ futures. So, see, interesting to see what happens here. That freaking bastard did not, sweep that low. It's unreal, dude. Longs, I'm in. Be careful, because it hasn't, like I said, be careful, because it hasn't taken out that low. So, it could still come back down for that low. We're still below view op. I don't know it depends what's going to happen here. Are we going to start closing above this gap? Or are we going to respect this gap? I mean, I guess I can mark it out. This gap right here. Right? We got two gaps stacked on top of each other. So, if we can't close above this gap, we could potentially still possibly go lower. Right? So... But once we kind of get through this gap right here, if we can get through this gap, we're probably going to go back for those highs. Most likely. It's having trouble here. View up is right there too, so... Actually, I'm not opposed to this, because if it fills this gap right here, if it can come back down, take out this low, I pretty much have a straight shot back up, right? Versus all this before, I had all this kind of resistance up here. But once it fills these gaps here, right? Once these gaps get filled like it did now if price decides to come back down and take out this low, I got a better risk to reward for these highs, because now it's already filled those gaps. So it could pretty much, you know, have a straight shot back up. Without any kind of resistance, without any kind of anything stopping me. But that's if it goes back down, right? To take out that liquidity. See what happens, though. Right, still having a hard time. It's not closing above that gap. Today is going to be kind of, you know, can't expect big moves out of today. Today is a no news day, no news Monday. So a lot of times you get this chop back and forth, you know, kind of in this like little range area. Let's see. Now there's this bullish gap right here. If it closes below that bullish gap, I mean, we could go back down to those lows, higher probability. So far, I mean, we're still kind of very indecisive here. What's gonna happen? It's NQ futures, NASDAQ. I want to see a rejection off this gap. I really want to see these lows get taken out. That's my main thing. I would prefer those lows, for it to go for those lows rather than these highs up here. But the market doesn't care what you want it to do. That's the thing. The market could care less. So that's why you gotta wait for the market to do what you want it to do. Are we gonna close above this gap? How much seconds we have? Oh, we still got a whole minute left. New candle just opened up. It's failing to break the. It's failing to close above that gap to push above view up. It's about that 10 o'clock mark. Remember I said before we usually get that 10 o'clock reversal. Look at this, 10 o'clock on the dot. If you were in here, you remember me saying this. A lot of what when price was right there, what I was saying I wanted price to do, I was waiting. I said once this drop started coming, I was like, I would love for price to come down, take out this low for that 10 o'clock reversal. Freaking came down barely. You could see it barely didn't sweep it. And we got a little more for it to be a complete sweep. And look at this first green candle. Look at that. First green candle was that well, actually the second green candle. This second green candle was the 10 o'clock mark, almost on the dot. Now it usually doesn't happen that way, but we got a big rip out of 10 o'clock. That new hourly candle opened up, right? That 10 o'clock hourly candle opened up and we saw a push out of it. So we're still rejecting this bearish gap. We're rejecting it. So now if we can kind of close below this bullish gap, we can probably see a straight back down for those lows. But we gotta kind of now we gotta close below that bullish gap, not respect it. There's a lot of support here, right? This 770 level, right? A lot of support here, so we gotta get through this support to go down to those lows. It's too much gaps. I guess I can let me take out, hold on. Let me try to, I'll remove those gaps because it's already filled them. So now the next gap, right? It's got to get through this bullish gap. It's got to close below. If it can kind of close below that bullish gap, we could potentially see a straight back down for those lows. So far, it's respecting it. Right? Pushing into resistance, maybe. I like this. I don't mind this, right? I wait for price to do what I want it to do. So now it's, I actually like that it filled those gaps. It filled those gaps. So now if we push back down, if we take out these lows, this 15 minute, if we take out that 15 minute, as long as it doesn't make any major bearish gaps along the way, we have a pretty straight shot back up to these highs. If I do take a trade, right? If I do take a quick scalping trade, I could take it back up to those kind of like maybe even a little bit lower because we got view up. These highs right here, these internal highs are view up. So it rejecting right there is rejecting off this gap and the view up. So let's see what happens if. Can you explain the boxes you made? These are gaps in the market. Right, when the market moves, in essence, when the market moves in one direction very, fast and heavy, right? You get a lot of this selling pressure, for example, that came in here. You see the this candle right here. So the bottom of this candle, the bottom where the wick is, the bottom of this candle and the top of the next candle, you see how it made this gap? They're not touching versus everything else. See how the candle's like there's no gaps. This is a gap right here. So the bottom, the top of this candle and the bottom, they don't touch. So it makes these gaps in the market. And you can see what market does, right? We have a gap right there, pushed up to the gap, then we sold off, right? Then we have another gap up here. What happened to price? Price pushed up to that gap, didn't close above that gap, and it sold off. Right now we have a bullish gap. So it's still respecting that bullish gap. Like I said, once we close below this bullish gap, we could see price potentially go back for these lows. So see how it's having trouble closing below that bullish gap. See that wick? Wick down below it, but then close back above it. Close inside that gap. So see what happens. If price closes kind of below this, it's just, I'm looking at price in terms of probability, right? My thing is, if price closes below this gap, we have a higher probability to go back for these lows. If it closes above this gap, we have a higher probability to go for these highs. This is NQ Futures, and this is Ninja Trader I'm using. But I'm using Ninja Trader, and I'm trading with prop firms, so... Is this on the 5-minute refresh? This right now is the 1-minute chart. If you look on the 5-minute chart, right? Let's see what we have. I haven't looked on the 5-minute chart yet. 5-minute chart, we don't really have any gaps on the 5-minute. We had a little tiny gap here, but 5-minute, see the 2-minute chart. The 2-minute chart, we have more gaps on the 2-minute chart. You have this big bearish gap on the 2-minute chart, right? Failed to close above it. So, got another bullish gap below here. Man, this is having so much trouble getting through that gap. Holy crap. No problem, no problem. This is NQ Futures. Well, I'm trading the MNQs or the micros, but this is NASDAQ Futures. I literally just funded a Schwab account with 1K, and I have no idea. Oh, don't do that. Don't. If you're long-term investing, like a S&P 500, that's fine. If you're trying to day trade with your own live capital, I would strongly discourage that. Because especially when you're learning day trading, you're like, you put that 1K, you're going to lose that money. Most likely you're going to lose that money. I'm just saying, just being honest. So what I would personally recommend, don't trade a live account, right? Trade a simulated account, meaning with fake money. You can always get a simulated account with brokerages, right? They usually offer simulated accounts. Figure out a strategy. Figure out a strategy with a simulated account. And once you do that, you can go to futures. There's prop firms. With futures, there's prop firms where you can get in with a very cheap price, right? And then you can get funded. And once you get funded, reach a certain profit target, you can start taking payouts, right? So I don't want people to lose their money. So I wouldn't recommend using live capital, especially when you're starting out. Maybe if somebody's already experienced and they've, got money out of the market, they know what they're doing, live capital is fine for them. But for somebody who's beginning to learn in the beginning stages, there's like a 99% chance you're gonna lose all that money. So just preventing you from... There's, in my opinion, right, with these futures prop firms, there's really no there's no reason really to trade. I mean, yeah, it has less rules. Live capital, you don't have to follow prop firm rules, but like, man, you can get payouts. If you can follow their rules, you could really take advantage of these prop firms if you know what you're doing. You could take crazy amounts of payouts. There's so many prop firms out there too. And you can copy trade. I have 10 funded accounts. So if I copy trade those funded accounts, right, $200 in one account multiplied by 10, that's a $2,000 a day. So just past 350k eval top step. Yeah, congratulations, that's awesome. 3 is a lot. See, 3 accounts, if you copy trade 3 accounts, you can make some decent money. But don't oversize. A lot of people like to oversize with their prop firm accounts. They like to go in super heavy and then they blow them in a couple days. If like couple bad trades and they blow those accounts, not a good idea to do that. So it's kind of size down. Allow yourself to go through some drawdown. You don't want to blow those accounts super fast. Crap, I just accidentally liked my own live. Is that how you started? No, that's not how I started. I personally started with live capital. That's why I'm saying don't do that, because I went through that. I lost money starting to trade with live capital. I don't want people to lose money. Oh, it's risky. The problem that the market gets you, right? In hindsight, when you look at the market in hindsight, it's very easy to see, like down here, right? Oh, if I would have bought right here, if I would have bought right there, I would have, made a lot of money. But when you look at this in hindsight, it's very easy. But when you actually try to have a strategy to try to predict something before it happens, it's a lot harder to do. And yes, like the market will give you a couple wins here and there, and you feel like you're on top of the world, and then it'll freaking slap you in the face. Especially with newbies, they don't have proper risk management. So like when somebody that's new in the market doesn't want to accept a loss, typically end up blowing their accounts because they accept to take that trade as a loss. So they think that, oh, if I hold, it'll eventually go back up. But by the time it goes back up, you've already blown your account. So now if you're in the market and you're like, you're long-term investing, you're swing trading, you're putting in some money for the S&P 500 for a very long-term hold, that's different. But if you're day trading, that's completely, So how do you research what stocks to trade? I trade the same thing every single day. I don't do research of what I have to trade. I trade NASDAQ futures every single day. The benefit of trading futures and trading the same thing every day, NASDAQ, S&P 500, they move well enough to not have to. And I hated that. I used to do that. I used to trade penny stocks. I used to do all that. And having to wake up and look for the biggest mover, having to do what the, latest news on what's moving the most, what's gapped up, all that, I don't have to do that anymore, right? I trade NASDAQ. I wake up, I look for my levels on NASDAQ, mark those levels out, and wait for price to kind of go to those levels. So, I see how NASDAQ moves. How was I able to, if you were here earlier in the live, remember I said, again, I know I'm kind of being a little repetitive, but for the new people, how was I able to know down here? I was like, all right, price is dropping here. I said, if it gets through this level, if it can push down to this level, and we can get a reversal around 10 o'clock, because usually 10 o'clock, we have some sort of reversal. A lot of times, not usually, but a lot of times, there is some form of a reversal at 10, right? And what happened? Almost on the dot, 10 o'clock, look at this big move back up at 10 o'clock, right? That new hourly candle, 10 a.m. candle opened up, and we got to push out of it. So, but the way I was able to kind of know that is because I've traded NASDAQ so long, and I know that typically happens. Like a lot of times that happens, so I was just able to predict something like that. But I wouldn't take the trade, right? I'm disciplined enough to, just because I know that this could happen at 10 a.m. does not mean I'm just going to willy-nilly just jump in because, oh, usually we get a reversal at 10 a.m. I'm just going to jump in. Like, yes, it would have worked today, but a lot of times it won't work doing that. You have to have a plan and a strategy. My plan was for these lows to get swept, right? My plan, I would have went long, to be honest with you. I would have went long if these lows would have got swept. But the fact that these lows didn't get swept, I didn't go long. That was the only reason why I didn't go long. So, and I didn't go long because I didn't want to get long here and then price to come back down, take out those lows, stop me out, and then go back up. So, I just wanted, once it takes out that low, it's kind of a protected low in my mind for price to not have to go back down there. So, man, oh, we're waiting for highs or lows. Yeah, 15-minute, none of it's got swept. I figured this could happen today. I was hoping it wouldn't happen, but exactly happened what I didn't want. It happened in the morning. As soon as I saw it do it here, I figured, I was like, oh crap, this is going to be one of those days. Because it came out, this was another level that I was looking to go short, right? This was another level I was looking to go short. It didn't take out this level and just dropped, so I never got short. Same thing with here. I was looking to go long here. Never took out that level, so I never went long. So would you say the most efficient way to maximize potential profit would be to have multiple trading accounts but not too many? Yeah, so Having multiple accounts is very powerful. When you actually have a strategy and you know what you're doing, having multiple prop firm accounts can really help you out. Like the scalability, like with Apex, having up to, you can have up to 20 copy traded accounts. Have up to 20 accounts and you can copy trade all of those accounts. So, but that's like when you know what you're doing, right? Because you have to pay for those accounts, and then when you pass those accounts, it's like with Top Step, it's like $140 to activate those accounts when you pass them. The evaluation when it's 30% off, I mean 80% off, it's like $33 per account. But then when you pass the evaluation, you have to activate those accounts, which is like $140 per account. So you kind of want to, you know, you still have to kind of know what you're doing. With one account, if you like blow one account, it's not the end of the world, right? But when you're trying to copy trade 10 accounts, you know, and you paid a decent amount for those accounts, then, you know, you kind of have to be careful. No catalyst today, and Trump speaking throughout the day, so makes market choppy. Yeah, I think the main reason market's choppy today is because there's no news. A lot of times when we get no news Mondays, like a lot of traders don't trade no news Mondays. You'll hear that if you're like new to trading, you'll hear that a lot. A lot of traders just don't trade no news Mondays, but typically those traders are the traders that like look for bigger moves. For me, it doesn't really matter. Like this would have been plenty of a move for me, right? It just didn't take out those lows, so I didn't go long. But this would have been plenty of a move for me. I'm a scalper. This is way more than enough for me. So, all right, we're starting to kind of failed to go lower. We did close below this gap, but immediately pushed back up, closed back above the gap. So, right, I looked in terms of probability. So, like, for example, if I was to get in a trade, hypothetically, I would not get in a trade here, but like, right? If I was to go long below this gap, if it was my setup and I went long, you know, shorted below the gap and then it pushed back up and closed back above the gap, I would have got out of the trade for a small loss. Because I understand if we close back above this gap, now we're having a higher probability to go back up for those highs. So now we're going for those highs. Look, really actually rocket shipping through those highs. Now, the only issue I have, if we do take out that high, is we got view op. And we got a support down here. So, right, price can take out the high, bounce off that support to go higher. I try to look at, I don't want anything stopping price from getting to an area. So if I had a, you know, TP down here, price would have to get through this support to get to my TP. And the more support it has to get through, the less probability it's going to hit your TP. In my eyes. So if I was to take a trade like this, something like this, I mean, it would have to be very small size because it would be more of a risky trade. So it took out that high. So if this, we got a support right there. And now support would be right at view op. Very dangerous short to take. I don't know. We'll see what happens here. If I was to take a trade, it would be very small size just to take the trade. See if I can get, you know, if it ends up does. But, like I said, very risky trade. You just got to know when to size, too. Sometimes it's better to size all the way down if the trade is not the best trade to take. Or not to take the trade at all, right? So, like this gap we have here. If price does close back below, there's a big chance it could push back up, right? There's a support level down, or it could drop. And we got view up there, so that would be a pretty dangerous trade to take. Will I take it? Maybe I will take it. I don't know. I would take it for maybe like 1 micro. I don't know. It's just too dangerous of a trade to take risk on. At this point, yeah, at this point, price is more likely to keep going up than going down. At where price is right now, more likelihood it's going to keep going up than going down. Now, will it have retracements back down? It could have retracements, right? Price moves up, price moves down to go back up. So And the reason I say that is we're above VWAP, right? We're above the 200. We're above VWAP. We're above, you know, there's a pivot point up here, but in general, right, we're above kind of, anytime we're above VWAP, it's pretty bullish. So we'll see what happens here. If I do take a trade, it's going to be very small size because this would be a riskier trade because of this support down here paired with VWAP. So it's got a lot to get through. A lot to get through. Now, the reason I would still take the trade, even though it's a riskier trade, very small size, just because, I mean, I'm willing to risk very small size for potentially, you know, for some profit if it does end up breaking all this. If it doesn't, stops me out, you know, it's a very small loss. So I don't really care. It's having trouble. It did take out that high you see, but it's having trouble. So far, it's having trouble. It's kind of forming like a structure. See what happens. Please don't fall. If I do take a trade, don't copy me. Because you will get wrecked. Bearish gap in 30-minute. Oh, there's a 30-minute bearish gap. All right, let's see what happens here. I may go very small size just because this would be riskier trade. If this does end up closing below the gap, I will go in very small size. We'll see. We got a big sell-off here. All right, we got about 15 seconds left. 10 seconds left. Shoot. 55, 56, 57, 58, 59. Man, that's too far. I'm gonna have a sell. If price can kind of retrace back up, I don't want to short all the way down there. I want price to come up a little bit. Ugh! Hopefully price can kind of come back up and fill me in. We'll see. But pretty heavy close below that gap. Come on, don't do this to me. Fill me. And if I do get filled, maybe I'll even, I don't know, maybe I'll even take a short to these kind of lows down there. I don't know if I should. Gotta be kidding me. I don't know what's, like, price is just not giving me what I want. Oh my gosh. You gotta be freaking kidding me, dude. This is some BS, dude. I guess I should have went in at the close of that candle. I didn't want to enter off the close because we had such a sell-off. I figured price can potentially pop back up, you know, to give me a better. Now it's taking out this low. Now it becomes even more dangerous of a trade because it could rip right back up for those highs. I don't know if I should keep my stop in there. I mean, sell order in there. This is some, oh my gosh. Ugh. Maybe you could fill that gap to go lower. Just chase it. Just chase it. It's fine. Bro, this is wild. Man, I figured it was gonna get some kind of a push back up to, you know, give me an better entry. To, yes, better risk management for a trade, but I guess not. We'll see what happens. Very small size on this trade. The problem is the fact that it's already taken out that low becomes a little more dangerous because, right, it could go back for those highs, potentially, right? See what happens here. It's NQ futures. Let's see that 2-minute chart. What's going on? Actually, man, but that close was the fact that closed super heavy was usually what I like to see, right? But I like for it to close heavy, not all the way down here, but like close heavy, but a little below the gap. But usually I buy at the close of that 1-minute candle. But the fact that it closed way down here is like, I really wanted it to push back up to allow for a little bit better risk management, a little less risk on the table. I figured it would. Figured it would like at least pop back up and before it goes back down, but it's not what it's doing. Maybe if it could pop back up and fill that gap. Fill that gap, fill me in to go back lower, maybe. We'll see. I'm literally like, what is this? It would be 20. It's like I'm risking very little money on this trade. So the trades that go heavy sizing are the trades I'm super confident in, where I have no like those trades don't happen too often, but when they do happen, man, they're like when it sweeps the liquidity and I have a straight shot, no gaps, no resistance, no nothing. It's pretty much a straight shot to those highs. And a lot of times what it does is I'll enter and it'll just shoot up to those highs pretty much immediately without going sideways, without bouncing around, you know. But the more levels it has to get through is when you end up being stuck in a trade and having to bounce around sideways, try to get through that level. And see, like this gap, right? It's having trouble to getting through this gap to get through this gap. Right? It's failing to close above this gap. Bro, come on. Don't do this to me. Let's go. We have equal lows down there, so we could easily... I'm willing to take this trade. The risk to reward would be pretty well, right? I would want to take it back down for those lows. That's what I would take it. My target would be for those lows. Stop below the highs. And since this gap right here, right, since what the heck? Long? No, short. No long. No long. See what happens. What time is it? 10:36. Oh, Nasdaq. I don't like what she's doing. Yeah, it's being weird. It's rejecting our view op. The only issue with it's rejecting our view op, and we have this gap. It's respecting this gap. We're inside this gap right now. You could see. Right here. Right, so we got this bearish gap, and we got a bigger bearish gap up there. So we'll see. We'll see. This freaking I guess I should have entered off that 1 minute. Come on. My laptop is old. Yours looks better to see this chart. No, my laptop. Well, my laptop's not old, also, but like you can see what the camera quality on YouTube. I have better camera quality on YouTube because the way TikTok is, I have a Mac computer from my main, and you can't stream on TikTok with a Mac, which is crazy. So I have I'm using my laptop to stream on TikTok, but the reason my chart looks the chart quality looks good because of my my HDMI. I have a 4K HDMI cable. That's why it's like compared to my camera quality. That's why you see it's like really crisp in my chart quality. I wish I could get a better camera quality for this laptop, but I don't trade crypto. I haven't traded crypto in a while. I actually made money with crypto. I've never I don't think I've ever lost money with crypto. But I don't trade crypto often, so I took my money that I made off of crypto and I left. Trust the process, go for coffee or something. Yeah. I don't like to leave out a trade when I'm away from the computer because I'll be thinking about a trade. That's why I don't like swing trading. Because if I swing trade, what will happen is I'm going to leave the chart and then I'm going to end up thinking about it the whole time. Shorts are dead? I don't know. The shorts don't look dead to me. Shorts look pretty strong to me. This 1 minute candle, this look at this 1 minute candle does not show that shorts are dead by any means. That 1 minute candle just engulfed how many green candles? Freaking A. It did not give me the entry. Son of a... I should have entered off this 1 minute. Freaking A. I could have... Man, I just wanted a better entry. Just a little bit. Give me a little better entry. Normally, my entries are right here off the 1 minute. Immediately when it closes below. Bruh. I don't know what the market's been doing to me lately. Lately, it's just been not... It's just been... Bruh, what is wrong with the market lately? Like, the trades are there, right? Like, the trades are there, but I'm just not getting my entries. I don't know if I have to adjust where I enter. I don't think so. I don't want to adjust where I enter either. Like, this would have been a decent entry, just the gap was like... It closed so heavy. Oh, sorry, I marked out the wrong gap. It closed below. This is the gap I was looking for, the closure. And normally what happens when price closes that, right, is swept out the 15 minute. When price closes that heavy below, ideally I want price to close right around where I have my sell limit in. That's ideally where I want price to close for me to get a like good risk to reward. But when price closes all the way down here, it's like I typically like to, you know, put a sell limit for price to at least bounce up here, tap me into the trade to go lower for a little bit better. But I never got it, which is pretty surprising. I thought it was going to give me at least a little bit of a bounce up, but it didn't really do that for me, which is fine. Trade still worked out really nicely, or it's working out so far. I see 644 in SPY. I think it'll go for these lows. Personally, that's what my target would have been, these lows. We have pretty much a double bottom here. It hasn't taken out the lows down there. Look how close it came. It made this double bottom earlier this morning at 10 o'clock. So we got a double bottom right there for potentially price to come down and take out that. How much you lost? I didn't lose anything. $0 lost. I haven't been getting the entries. I told you short the where's 2 minute gap? Where's the 2 minute gap? Let's see how different it is than the gap I have marked out. It's the same gap. No? It's the same gap, pretty much. This 2 minute gap right here, it's a little bit different, right? I would have to adjust it a little bit from this wick right here. So I would just the top a little bit. But the bottom, my entry would be pretty much the same off the 2 minute from the 1 minute. But the reason I didn't enter at the close, like I said, right? My strategy is to enter at the close below the gap. The reason I didn't enter at the close below this gap is because we closed so heavy that I wanted price to at least pop back up to give me a little bit better of an entry. If I would have known price was going to do this, I would have entered off the 1 minute, off the closure. But hindsight. I mean, normally it at least gives you some form of a bounce back up into it, but it's fine. It is what it is. Maybe it could still pop up. I mean, I would still. I would still potentially enter if it fills this gap to go lower, maybe. $20 micros, dang. That's pretty heavy. Ain't gonna lie. $20 micros. Wait. You have a 100K account with who? $20 micros is huge, yeah. It's a pretty big. 20 micros is, that would be, let's see, that's $400 for every 10 points. Oh, you profit? Okay. What are micros like points? Yeah, well, micros, they're smaller contracts. So you have two different kinds of contracts, right? You have the micros and the minis, like for NASDAQ. Yeah, 20 micros is equivalent to 2 minis. 2 minis would be $400 for every. But you have micros and then you have minis. So minis are a lot heavier than micros, obviously. One, for example, right? One mini contract, every 10 points for one mini contract is $200. So 10 points is $200 for one mini contract. Right? One micro contract, every 10 points is $20. So the reason I use micros and not minis is because like I could scale a lot better, right? My risk management is a lot better with micros versus minis. The least amount you're able to risk per 10 points is $200. You can't go lower than that. You have to go to micros. So that's why, but yeah, but that's the equivalent, yeah. 20 micros is the equivalent of 2 minis. Like, some people would still rather use micros instead of minis just because of the scaling. Some people want to scale more out, and depending on your strategy and how you trade. But, freaking A, it's going for that low now. I just followed you, sir. Appreciate the follow. Thank you. Yeah, this is Ninja Trader. And there's that target down there. I would usually my target would typically be the body candle lows. So like these, I don't know, I don't take the low lows. I take the body candle lows just because of I've seen price bounce off that body candle lows too many times for me to even. I know some people take the low lows. In this scenario, it's about to sweep out these. All right, let me cancel this now. There's that low. Boom. TP. Bruh. Bro, the market's not giving me any entries. This is wild. I seriously, I'm calling out all the trades, but I'm not taking them because it's not giving me the entries. This was the perfect trade, right? But I don't know, man. I wanted a little bit better. I guess I should have entered off that 1 minute closure. It is what it is. I called it perfectly though. So what exactly are you trying to do? I'm new to this. I really want to learn. So this is my strategy, right? And this is why I said this was why I was looking for this trade right here. This downtrend right here. My strategy is simple. All right, I like to keep it as simple as possible. I start out every morning on the 15-minute time frame. So these blue lines you have marked, I marked out pretty much right when market opened. I marked these lines out. So these lines are already marked out when market was opening. I had this high marked out right here. Boom. We had another kind of internal high. We had another high right here on the 15-minute, right? Paired with this pivot point, paired with a gap up here. So I understand there's a lot of, right, selling pressure up here, paired with a lot of just resistance, right? And I had this kind of pre-market level. There's a major low down here. Pre-market, paired with pre-market. Let me see what happens here real quick. Hold on. So I mark out my levels. I go on a 1 minute time frame. Let me see if this trade is worth taking. Hold on. Maybe I'll take this trade. But I mark out my levels on a 1 minute, on a 15-minute time frame, and I wait for liquidity to get swept, right? I wait for liquidity to get swept, like here, right? This line, look at that. It swept it perfectly. It swept it perfectly, and then I look for a bullish gap to get inversed. So there's a bullish gap right there. That bullish gap closed below, got inversed, and that's my cue to go short, right? Sellers stepped in very aggressively, go short. I didn't enter this trade because I wanted, typically I enter at the closure of that candle, but I didn't enter because I put my target, I wanted price to kind of push up just a little bit to give me a little bit better of an entry. Never ended up getting it, but you ended up getting that flush from those. So we kind of swept this. We have a lot of resistance up here. Let me try this. Very small size, but maybe we can kind of try to get a push up to this kind of internal level, maybe. I'm willing to risk a little bit. Maybe this is a little bit of a revenge trade because but there's a gap up there. There's a gap up here, so it's got to get through this gap. If it can't get through this gap, it's going lower, but see, it's rejecting off that gap. And this is why I like price to have a straight shot. This isn't a straight shot, right? We got resistance right there. We got a gap right here. So it's got a lot to get through to be able to shoot up to my TP. So that's why this is very small size, because, right, it's got a lot to get through. But it has taken out this 15-minute now. I don't know, it could close. Now, if it closes back below this gap, it's kind of looking ugly for longs, right? Most likely, it's going to take out that low. If it closes back. If it closes below this gap, I'd probably get out of the trade for a very, very small loss. But because it'll probably, my idea, if it closes below this gap, it'll probably go back for these lows. So as long as it stays above the gap, I'm looking good. But like I said, if it closes below that gap, it's starting to not look too good for longs. So far, we're getting a pretty aggressive buying pressure step in from sweeping that out that low. So we'll see what happens here. Maybe. We just got a big sell-off, right? This is a pretty big sell-off for these kind of pre-market low levels it just took out. So looking to kind of tap back into internal liquidity. We got the 200 there, and we have view op right above there. So I'm kind of being a little conservative with my TP because I know, you know, price can reject here. There's a very high likelihood price can reject here. So I just want to take a quick TP and move on with my day. So let's see if it could get through this gap. So far, it's still having trouble. It's kind of starting to push above that gap. We got about 30 seconds left for this 1 minute candles. Depending on how this 1 minute candle closes, if it closes pretty strong, we're looking pretty good for a closure above that gap. Let's see, we got 15 seconds left. All right, there it is. TP! 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 Where's your stop loss? So I have a hard stop loss. I had a hard stop loss below the lows, right? I have what's called a hard stop loss and a soft stop loss, right? So when I entered off a gap, right? Like I entered right there, right? At the closure above this gap. And I was saying, right? When price was pulling back, I was saying, I will get out of this trade. If price closes below this gap, I would get out of the trade for a very small loss, right? Because my idea is if price closes below this gap, right? At that point, there's a higher probability for it to go for those lows. So I would get out for a small loss. I have a hard stop loss. Now my hard stop, that's a soft stop loss, right? Me kind of getting out a little early. A hard stop loss would be below the lows. So right below those lows, that's like a stop of stops. Like that's a last. There's no way I'm holding if it goes below those lows. But typically TP should be right. My TP should have been like 784 level. The reason I didn't take the 784 level is because we got the 200 there. I was not trying to be greedy. We have view op right there, so I know it's gonna reject right here. In this area, there's gonna be some form of rejection. I don't want it to come up to my TP and then just reject all the way back down. So I'm just trying to get a little bit of a, you know, safer exit. A win is a win, my dude. Yeah, a win is a win. It's like the risk to reward was there, right? I was risking very little, but I would have preferred this first trade. This first trade, I would have made way more money if I would have took the closure below this gap for those lows down there. This would have been way more money, but it is what it is. I took what I personally, right? I take what the market gives me. Whatever the market gives me, that's what I take. So my highest probability was kind of like, you know, this kind of internal right before it taps that 200 view op to go for those highs. So my safest exit would have been right there, which literally curious to see if this ends up taking out that high or ends up dumping through here, right? And I took that exit also is because of that 200, like I said. And right above that 200, where it's rejecting right now, is that view op. So it's going to have a pretty difficult time getting through view op like it's having right now. So I don't know if it's going to sell off. Technically, I mean, right now these lows are kind of protected. It took out this major level. So it could, right? It could go for those highs. Very likely to go for those highs at this point. But I don't want to get stuck in sideways action. Like this right here, stuck in this sideways, risking Trump to say something. I'm long from the first green candle. Oh, you went the first green candle. So you went long. You went long here. I went long at the closure above the gap. But yeah, not a bad long. I mean, you know, swept the major level. Good risk to reward on your part for those you know, but have risk management. Now it's pushing, right? Now it's kind of understanding what the market could do, right? It could push down. Now we have this kind of bullish gap here that it kind of has to hold, right? We got another bullish gap kind of down here, but so we do have some bullish gaps that can hold price up, but you just gotta be careful. Maybe take some partials off, right? I mean, maybe I would take partials off, or I don't know. It could vary. It could still. I think it could still push up for those highs because we've already taken out that low. So this is an internal liquidity, right? So it could potentially tap into this internal liquidity, maybe to fill that gap to maybe go lower. But I think, me personally, I think it at least takes out this high right here. I think it at least takes out this 788 level before it goes lower for those lows. Woo! Bless you. Thank you. Target 15 minute gap. You see. Are you looking at the wait, 15 minute gap? This gap up here? You said 15 minute gap. I'm assuming you mean I'm assuming you mean this 15 minute gap right here. I don't know, it's a pretty, I would take if I were you, I mean, I'm not telling you to do anything, you know, but you have your own strategy. I would take partials just to lock in some profits because it's a lot to get through. Look at the wicks right here. I'm not trying to discourage you. I mean, we did get a nice sweep of this major level, right? Starting to get a push out of it, but it's got a lot to get through to get to that level. So we're still rejecting. We got a bullish gap. If it closes below that bullish gap, I mean, if you have your stop at break even, I mean, there's a high likelihood. We have another bullish gap right there. I can mark out these bullish gaps just because I'm not in a trade anymore. It's looking very bearish overall. Yeah, but the problem is, right, when you look at the 15-minute time frame, overall, yeah, it was looking bearish. But let me try to zoom in so you could see this. Right? Oh, crap. Look what happened. Look what happened on the 15-minute time frame. Exactly what I was looking for it to happen, right? Right? And this is the reason I got long. Look what happened. We had this major level right here. It swept it. So now, I mean, we could see a lot of upside potential. The fact that it swept this major level, we don't really have much else going on down here. So the fact that it swept that major level, it could very likely go up, you know, for one of these highs to this 15-minute gap, you know. But if you're looking for bigger targets, understand today is kind of, today is, first of all, a no news Monday. Second of all, you may not get any big moves out of today. You could get a, you know, you do what you want to do. But I always like to play it safe. I'm a scalper. I'm not one of these long-term. Maybe eventually I would become, you know, hold for longer-term plays. But I take my profits fully. I don't hold. But it's got some room to the upside as of now. I mean, we're still below VWAP. Right now, we're literally tapping right into VWAP. So right now it's tapping VWAP. So if it can get through VWAP here, I gotta figure out how to get VWAP on this chart. I don't know why Ninja Trader doesn't. I hope you don't have to, like, if I can give, I'll figure out how to get VWAP on this chart so I can stop saying where it is. I have it on my other chart so I see it, but today was a scalper's wet dream. Yeah, and I kind of, it's expected, right? It's expected because anytime no news, it's a no news Monday, so you get this sideways kind of range action on a no news Monday. And that's why a lot of these traders that trade for longer, meaning like they look for a lot bigger moves, they typically don't trade. For scalpers, this is a paradise. For somebody like me that trades, that scalps, this is a paradise for scalpers. This is heaven on earth. In the morning, it didn't give me the moves I wanted. Literally, I had these levels marked out in the morning. Right? I was looking for a short up here. It never swept the highs, so I never got short. And then initially I was looking for longs down here, but it never swept those lows. And then once we finally did get a sweep of those lows, I went long for a quick scalp. So give me a second. I'm gonna use the restroom real quick. I'll be back. I'm a scalper too. I personally like scalping. I like to, you know, I like to get into the market, take my trade, take my profits, and move on. Especially like with today's economy, like today's kind of price action. I don't know, man. It's like Trump could say something out of nowhere, and I don't want to be stuck in a trade while Trump says something. So I like to, for me, in my kind of eyes, now I look for specific profit targets. I'm not, right? This doesn't mean that you get into a trade and then immediately when you see green, you take green. No, I'm a scalper, but when I get into a trade, I know where my profit target is. Like, I have a profit target. I'm not just, oh, I see a little bit of green, take my profit, take my profit. Like, I have a specific profit target set and a specific stop loss. But yeah, I mean, the less I'm in a market, the less exposure I have, the better kind of off. Like, if you saw what happened on Friday, I'll see if I can post that clip from what happened on Friday. But Friday's kind of an example, like, that's a little bit, I guess that's a little bit different. Because Friday, I got caught in news. I forgot that there's news. And, you know, price wicked me out, stopped me out, and it went immediately in my direction. It was the craziest, like, doesn't happen often. But that's why I kind of like, you know, I like to take my profits and move on with my day. I take 1-to-1 or 1-to-2. Yeah, I typically, so my hard stop is typically like around a 1-to-1. But because I can get out of trades early, a lot of my trades are, technically it's a little bit better than a 1-to-1 because I would get out of a trade early. So, but initially when I'm entering, I'm looking at a 1-to-1. And this like whole, I don't know, I mean, I guess it depends what strategy you have, but this whole like social media thing, I mean, it's for market wise, like marketing, you know, day trading and stuff like that. It just looks good when it's like you see the titles on a YouTube video, like a 1-to-6 RR trade, a 1-to-10 RR trade. Here's the thing with the market, right? Your risk to reward typically has a direct correlation with your win rate, right? So if you're a trader, if like there are traders who are profitable with a 20% win rate, right? So this whole misconception like, oh, you're gonna have a 90% win rate with a 1-to-10 RR ratio, that it's not gonna happen. Like, there's most likely, unless you're some genius in trading, some anomaly, it may happen, but for 99% of people, that's not gonna happen, right? So what I mean is you have a direct correlation. When I take a 1-to-1 risk to reward trade, I only have to have what technically I only have to have a 50% win rate, 51% win rate to be considered profitable. It's barely any profits, but a 50% win rate with a 1-to-1 is a break-even trade, right? So if I try to go for a 1-to-2 ratio, my win rate is typically going to fall below a 50%. So if I'm trying to go for a 1-to-5 ratio, my win rate's probably going to be like a 30%. So I'm going to take a lot of losers to finally hit that 1-to-5, 1-to-6. But for me to have a 1-to-1, I can hit a 1-to-1 pretty consistently, you know, with a pretty high win rate with a 1-to-1. But there are even traders. I know of profitable traders that are profitable with a negative risk to reward ratio. Now, obviously with a negative risk to reward ratio, you have to have a lot higher win rate, you know, but for somebody who's good with their risk management, they can have a negative risk to reward, no problem. Now, obviously not a crazy negative, but I'm saying like a 1-to-1.5, like barely negative. Not like a, you know, not like a 3-to-1 or some crap. Fair value tapped. Did it tap into it? It still got this like still hasn't taken out that. See, this is why I took profits exactly where I took profits. I do not want to be stuck in this right now. Literally, as soon as I took profit, this chop happened. And I knew this could happen. I knew this could happen because we have VWAP right there. I knew view up was going to be a tough level to get through for these, even these highs right here. So that's why, like, if you saw where I took profits right here. I took profits right here. So as soon as I took profits, sideways action. Now, it could still go up. I mean, I think it right now still has a higher likelihood of going for these highs, but man, this is anxiety right here. Sitting in this during a trade is anxiety. I'm looking at SPY and same as NASDAQ and MNQ, but I see it going bearish. Yeah, so typically when people look at, I don't do this, but people look at SPY and NASDAQ because they like to see how they move together. So people look for divergences when when NASDAQ makes sweeps at a low, NASDAQ fails to make that low. It's called a divergence. I don't use it, but but I know people, that's one of the confluences people look for. I personally, the less I have in the way, right? Less confluences. Like, how many confluences do I have? I look for, right, like a 15-minute sweep of liquidity and pretty much a gap to get inversed, and I target internal, whatever the next highest probability kind of target is, that's what I look for. Very simple. Very, very simple. Nothing complicated whatsoever. Now, somebody can take that same strategy and overcomplicate it for sure. But I feel like when you start to get indicators and this and that, it's like one thing starts to contradict another thing, and now you're just never taking trades because now you want to take a trade, but this is contradicting this and that, and it's just like, I don't know, it just confuses the crap out of you. We're still, I think it could push. It's just, it hasn't pushed through view op yet. Once we push through view op, I mean, we're looking good. Now, the other area, right, next, first level, we have this high right here. Let's see if I could zoom in a little bit so it fits in the screen. Right, so the first area we got are these internal highs. So price can likely either take out these highs, and once it takes out these highs, I think it'll go. We have this bearish gap right here. So if it takes out these highs, taps into this gap, it could really sell off. It has a potential of selling off, right? It has more things to get through. It still has this massive bearish gap to get through to potentially go for those highs. It hasn't taken out that internal liquidity yet, this one. It's having a lot of trouble getting to that. So, and see, and normally, right? Normally, for example, if this same price action, right? If this same price action was happening somewhere like further down there, like a lot down, so where the 200 was farther above, the view op was all the way up here, right? Then I would have taken this as a profit target. This would have been my profit target. And I can't guarantee you, but I think price would have hit this profit target a long time ago. But the reason it's not, right, is because we have so much resistance. So that's why, like, I would have adjusted my TP based on if we didn't have all this going on here. I would have had my TP here. But the fact that we had so much going on here and I knew price could do this is exactly why I didn't set my TP right here. Where technically, by the book, I should have set my TP. Technically, by my strategy, I should have set my TP there. But I set it at a more, you know, safer place for me. That made sense. 5-minute gap. Where's that? Let me look at 5-minute chart. Bro, what the flip? Am I still... Bro. Crap. Oh, I'm good. Never mind. That was a ghost order. I thought I was still in a trade. I thought my copy trader, but I think it was like a not a real order. And what I was gonna say something. was gonna say, oh, I was looking at 5-minute gap. Where's that 5-minute gap? Talking about that 5-minute. Are you talking about this? Talking about this gap right here on the 5-minute chart? Like an entry? Possibly. I mean, that could still be a decent entry. You know, if that's your strategy, then this could be a decent entry for a long, right? Now, it has to be your strategy. You got to know when to get out. I can't say, like, for me, that's not my strategy, so I would not take this trade. You know, but see what happens here. Now, I mean, what the heck? Where's that? Is it this gap? Now we gotta kind of hold. If we can't hold this gap, we're going maybe to retest this gap. There's another gap right here. But, right, it's not gonna look, if we fail to hold this gap and fail to hold this gap and close below, we could go easily, higher probability to go for those lows. So it's got a few gaps to get through. So far, it's respecting that gap. Oh. What do you think about INTC in the long run? I don't look at stocks. The only thing I look at is NASDAQ. Bro, my elbow itches. I don't know my elbow itches. Something freaking little bastard bite me. Bro, why's my elbow itch? Got itchy elbows. So far, see what happens here. I am so glad I got out where I got out. Those gaps are fair value gaps. Yeah, these are called fair value gaps. There's bullish and bearish fair value gaps. So let's see what happens if it fails to hold. I mean, it's not gonna look good. I'm in a long. Be careful. Alright, we're still. I don't trade off a bullish, like going long, right? I trade off of inverse fair value gaps. It's one of my one of the things I look for is an inverse fair value gap. And that's an inverse fair value gap is when, like what happened here, perfect example, when I went long, right? Inverse fair value gap is when a bearish fair value gap gets inversed, right? So like this bearish gap it's inversed. Now this is an inverse fair value gap because it got inversed, got disrespected, so it closed back above it. So like, right, this bullish gap is about to get, did it get inversed? So this bullish gap, well, barely. I think it barely got inversed. But when it closes back below it, it gets inversed. I'm in a short, unfortunately. I wish I didn't even trade today. Yeah, for the future, understand this. When we have a day like no news Mondays, a lot of time you got to be careful with your profit targets because we typically don't get big moves on a no news Monday. It's something like this. We get a lot of chop up and down. A lot of up and down chops, so you just have to be careful. If you do take a trade, I said this when market opened. You got to be careful with your profit targets today because it's a no news Monday, so we're not going to get any big moves. Most likely. We're not going to get any major moves. We get this like kind of like sideways in a range type of trades. But that's why a lot of traders that trade, you know, for bigger targets, they don't even trade today. They just stay out of the market. All right, it closed. So see this gap, this bullish gap got inversed. Now we have one more gap here, right? We have this last gap here. If this gap gets disrespected, in my eyes, we're probably going for those lows again. Probability-wise, in my eyes. So, see what happens if it closes below this gap right here. Now, we do still have a major level for it to potentially hold, but we'll see. Oh, man. And we failed to get above that view op. We pretty much rejected perfectly off that view op. It tapped into it perfectly. View op is literally like where I have my cursor. Where I have my cursor, view op is literally like right there. So like right there. So you can see it pretty much tapped it and then reversed right off it. Calls and puts. But yeah, it's okay. If you took a trade today, hey, if you stop out break even, better to stop out break even than take a loss. If it's your strategy just not working today. And that's another important part of trading. You got to understand when your strategy just doesn't work, it just doesn't work. I mean, there's no strategy really that works, you know, every single day. Some days it's going to work amazing, and some days it's just not going to work for you at all. For me, for example, my strategy really does not work on days where we just uptrend, right? Those days when the price just opens up and it just keeps uptrending, making higher lows, higher lows, higher lows, higher lows. My strategy does not work during those days. I get stopped out during those kind of days. So if I can realize that that's what's going on and not take a trade during those days, I save myself a lot of money. Can you explain to me how you got that fair value gap to the bottom? I have a hard time finding them. So all a fair value gap is, I'm assuming you mean this one. So there's a bearish fair value gap alongside a bullish fair value gap together. But I'll look at the bearish one first, right? And this is the trade that I took. So when you get price movement, right? Actually, let me take this away so it's easier to see. Let me move this up. So you see what price is doing, what price did right here, right? You see this candle right here? See the bottom of this candle, how it doesn't touch the top of this candle? So there's a gap in price right here. See, normally when you have price action, you see these candles, how it fills everything? See, the top of this candle kind of fills this, everything is filled. But this is the only spot where you have the bottom of this candle does not connect with the top of this candle, which leaves a little gap in the market. And this is called a gap in the market. There's another gap right here where the bottom of this candle does not connect with the top of this candle. So there's another gap right here. There's a bullish gap right here. The top of this candle does not connect with the bottom of this candle. So you can, right? Now you can kind of get your highlighter type of thing, and I can go the bottom of this candle does not connect with the top of that candle, right? So now this highlighted area is a gap. Now there is also I think there are indicators that you can buy. I don't have the indicators, but I think there's indicators where it highlights the gaps for you. Like every gap in the market, it highlights it for you. I mean, I don't have it because I don't really need to, because I can spot them right away, but that's something that could, you know. You're a good conservative trader. Yeah, I that came with a lot of experience, slaps in the face by the market. But yeah, hopefully you understand gaps now. That's kind of like the, you know, how they work. And these imbalances gonna get filled. Anytime a gap, like a bullish gap, closes below, it gets inversed. So you see this bullish gap down here, and I said, look what price did pretty much, right? It tapped into, it failed, it closed below this bullish gap, inversed it, and then I said, if we get through this gap, we could very likely go for those lows again. But, right, what did price do? Inverse this gap, but then it respected this gap, right? You see it tapped into it, pretty much it barely tapped into this gap, and then reversed right off it. But like the 1 minute gaps, a lot of them fail. Like you see this gap failed. So you got to be careful with where you take the gaps. Now there's gaps on a 15-minute chart, on a 1 hour chart. On every time frame, there's different levels. There's different gaps. But yeah, somebody said being a conservative trader comes with taking a lot of stupid trades, getting wrecked on them, and then eventually you're just like, why am I taking these dumb trades? And you end up being in a level where you're taking good trades, but then you're also taking stupid trades. So when you take losses on stupid trades and then you take those good trades, all you're doing is just making back on your good trades. You're just making back your losses on your stupid trades. So now I'm just like, I wait for the good setups. I wait for the good setups, and that's what I take. Are you using a prop firm? Yeah, I use Apex Trader Funding. I have 10 funded accounts currently. I'm trying to pass 4 more evaluation accounts. If I pass these 4 evaluation, I'll have 14 funded accounts. Do you look for volume? Yes and no. I do look for volume, but not in the way that other traders do. Other traders have volume bars that they look at. I don't have any volume bars. The way I look at volume is price action, right? Like, I understand when I have this major level marked out and price ends up sweeping it and we get a lot of buyers start to step in. This is essentially a lot of volume coming in at this level that got swept, right? A lot of buying volume is stepping into the market. So I look at volume based on price action, not based on volume bars on a chart. But sorry if I missed your question. You could post it again. How much do they fund you? You can have up to 20 funded accounts with Apex. Copy trade it. You can copy trade up to 20 accounts. Or you can have just 20 accounts and not copy trade them. But yeah, 20 accounts is their maximum amount. I have 10 funded. I'm trying to get 4 more. But took a $400 stupid loss this morning. Now I'm up $1,200 on 2 trades. That's good. That's good risk management. When you can take a loss, you know, and you can learn from that loss, like, you know, you saying it's a stupid loss, now maybe next time if that same kind of setup happens, you could stay out of the trade and just be like, all right, I'm not, you know, I'd rather stay out of this and wait for a better setup to take a good trade. But if you can learn from your loss, that's a W in my book. And that's how I look at losses too. Like Friday, if you saw my stream Friday, it's freaking hilarious. I took a stupid loss because I didn't realize that news was coming in. And I got stopped out just because of the news. It went immediately in my direction. I told you I'd be thinking about that. Those who remember, I was like, I'm going to be thinking about this all weekend long. And I was thinking about it. I'm still thinking about it. I just got to move on from it. But, you know, I'll make sure not to do that anymore. That was my fault, though. I would have. Can Apex prop firm fund in US? Yeah, you can get in the US. I'm in the US. Anybody in the US can trade Apex, these funded accounts, or Apex trader funding accounts. Just joined. What time interval you trade in? I mark out major levels on a 15-minute time frame, and then I wait for those levels to get swept. Like what happened here. This blue line is a major 15-minute level. It got swept, gap got inversed, and then buying pressure stepped in, and you know, I took a long. I was here for that minute, bro. I was still thinking about that. I'm just mad at myself because I remember in the morning I was like, all right, we got 10 a.m. news. Awesome, 10 a.m. news. And then I was talking to the chat and answering questions and stuff, and a trade setup ended up coming up, and I took the trade, not realizing that in a couple minutes it's 10 a.m. already. So I kind of lost track of time, didn't realize 10 a.m. was literally right around the corner. and ended up getting caught in the trade, stopped me out, and then went immediately in my favor. Does Apex give you a hard time with payouts? No, not real. As long as you follow the rules, you should get. I mean, you should get payout as long as you follow the rules, right? Now, the only story I hear of people maybe starting to have a hard time with payouts is the people who are like, you know, very profitable and have taken a lot of money out of Apex. Then I've heard stories where they're kind of like, you know, they're starting to deny payouts when they shouldn't deny. This is the stories I hear. I can't confirm or deny. I'm just being transparent and letting you know what some people are saying. That the people who have taken a lot of money out of Apex, they could start to kind of like, but those are people who have already taken out a crazy ton of money. But if you follow the rules, right, you shouldn't get denied payouts. But those people, what they do is they just move on to a different prop firm. If they start getting denied and they know it's because they made too much money, they just go to a different prop firm and that's it. There's so many different reputable prop firms that, you know, you can easily go to another prop firm. And that's why it's good to have multiple prop firms. Does it all Forex trade? No, it's just futures. Only futures. Forex has a lot of issues with her. I wouldn't recommend Forex prop firms. The average payout you take. I mean, it's honestly, I don't know. It's different. How much is too much money for a payout? There's no too much. I mean, there's no such thing as really too much money. There's a guy recently who, with Apex, he got like a $2 million payout. There was another dude who got like a $1-point-something million payout. Another trader that got a $600,000 payout. I know another trader who got a $40,000 payout. So it's like people have taken millions out of one payout. How are they making millions? They just know how to trade. They know. I mean, people that know how to trade, they can really milk these prop firms. If you know how to trade and you're good at risk management and you know what you're doing, people milk the crap out of prop firms. I'm not at that level yet, but hopefully eventually with, you know, better risk management and, you know, maybe hopefully eventually I can get there where I can really start. I just have to maybe get better setups. The more confident I go in, the more, you know, I do have 10 accounts, but, you know, to make millions, you have to, you know, have a kind of a pretty decent, a lot of accounts, let's put it that way, and go in pretty decently heavy. How does Apex work? The way Apex works is, all right, we just closed below this gap, so it's not looking too good. For longs. The way Apex works is you have an evaluation account that you purchase. Typically, it's like, for right now, I think if they have an 80% off sale, it's like $33 for an evaluation account. Once you pass your evaluation account, right, you end up getting funded in what's called a PA account. It's called a funded account, and you have to pay to activate that account. Typically, it's around like $140 per account to activate. So once you get your PA account, you have to follow the rules. Same thing with evaluation. You have to follow rules and reach a certain profit target. Then when you reach that profit, you get in a funded account. You follow the rules. You reach a certain profit target, and you can start requesting payouts. And you can start, you know, getting paid out. You request payouts, you make your money, and you have to trade for a certain amount of days. You know, there's a little bit more rules to it. They're not anything like, no super complicated rules, but, you know, follow the rules, hit your profit target, and then request payouts, and that's pretty much it. What do you recommend? I've been trading Forex pairs, but here futures is better. Yeah, futures is better. So with the Forex market, with prop firms, there's been a lot of issues of prop firms manipulating price and doing all this bogus stuff. With futures, it's a little bit different. It's safer with futures because with futures, there's Apex, and then there's a third-party company called there's two companies. There's Rhythmic and then there's Tradevate. I use Rhythmic, right? So they're kind of like a data provider for these prop firms, like an order routing kind of thing for these prop firms. So the prop firms have no way of manipulating price how they were doing it in Forex, because like the prop firms controlled the price. They were able to manipulate price in Forex versus futures. Prop firms can't do that because Apex uses a third-party service called Rhythmic or Tradevate. So there's not really, you know, that issue there. And a lot of Forex traders went to futures. That's why futures really blew up, is because of these prop firms and stuff like that. Now, you do have sketchy prop firms that won't pay you out and stuff like that. Just got to be careful with these, like, no-name prop firms out there that nobody really knows about. I would say stick to the reputable prop firms. But, yeah. Is there prop firm option, prop firm for options? I don't think so. Not that I've heard of. Oh, hey, I'm back. Welcome back. How much can you make with just a 50K funded account? It depends how you size. I mean, see, there's no cap on how much technically, there's no cap on how much you can make, you know. I think they limit you, I don't know if they changed this rule. I would have to look. I'm not sure if they changed the rule, but I think you were able to take per account, like a $50,000 account. I think it was like $2,000 per request. That's not you just able to make $2,000 and you're done. That's like $2,000 cap per like request. So I think you're able to, back then you were able to request 2 times a month. I don't know if they changed the rule. I would have to look, but I think it was like $4,000 a month technically you could take out of a 50K account for one account. Now obviously if you have multiple accounts you could really scale that, but you know, you could do that month after month. It's not like it's only for 1 month. As long as you stay within the rules and you know your drawdown and all that is good. It's looking oversold. Yeah, like I said earlier, if we get below this gap, it's not looking good for bulls. So at this point, it has this major level it could bounce off of, but in my eyes, I think it's going to go for this low again. Right? It failed to hold this gap. It closed below this gap. Closed below this gap. Now, I mean, it could hold this major level, but I think it could very likely go for those lows. Can you use indicator on future trading platform like Forex? Yeah, there's indicators. You have VWAP, you have the 200, yeah. They have a lot of indicators on futures market. Probably every indicator you can use in Forex, you can use in futures. Probably. Now I'm not 100% sure because I don't know every indicator, but I mean, there's probably maybe indicators that aren't available. I don't know, but all the big indicators, yeah, you could use. The prop firm, I've never heard of prop firms for options. I'm not sure. I don't think so. To my knowledge, I don't think so. I feel like I would have heard about them if they were a thing. All right, I'm about to hop off soon. So if you have any questions, I gotta go eat. And I gotta go work before a thunderstorm rolls through in the afternoon. So one thing I hate about Florida is their freaking thunderstorms in the afternoon. They're nice, but when you have to do something outside, it sucks. Is this a stock market top? I mean, we're not at highs right now. We got a long ways, we got a decent away from highs, but. So it's bouncing off that major level right now. Looking for bullish short term. Yeah, we could see some buying pressure start to step in at this area right here. We got a major level that I have that marked out. As you can see what's happening literally right now. Oh my goodness. Ugh! So, good day today. You know what I should have, one thing, I should have taken those, you know what I didn't realize? This strategy I should have taken on, I took on my evaluation accounts. I should have took these on my funded accounts. It's the only thing I kind of regret. I should have took this trade on my funded. Stocks are easy. I don't know. It's a very, they may be easy to someone who knows what they're doing, but for someone who doesn't know what they're doing, it's not easy. Is TopStep a good platform? They're a reputable company. The only issue I've been hearing with TopStep is since they've made people use their platform, like if you trade TopStep, you have to use TopStep X, which is their platform. The only issue with people have been having is since it's a new platform, they've been having glitches here and there and stuff like that. So I've been hearing a little issues with glitches with their platform, but they are a reputable company. Like they do pay out, meaning. Like I personally, right now, I wouldn't trade with TopStep just because of like, listen, trading's hard enough and I don't want my screen to be glitching and stuff like that, you know? So I use Rhythmic. I don't have any issues with Rhythmic. We know once in a blue moon you may have some kind of issue with Rhythmic. It can kind of glitch or something. Rhythmic is down, but that's very rare. Like most of the time, Rhythmic works pretty well. But most prop firms use Rhythmic. I think TopStep's the only one who's making people use their own. I mean, I don't like that personally. I do my due diligence, so I was being smart. I made 167. Oh, I mean, if that's true, that's good. All right, what time is it? All right, I'm about to hop off soon. Oh man, I think we're done. W day, caught a good trade. Caught a good trade and hopefully, let me look up one thing before I leave, right? Let me see what tomorrow looks like. I like to kind of expect, what can I expect for tomorrow? Tomorrow also, we have a little bit of news at 8:30, but that's pre-market news at 8:30. So no major news really. I don't know how, it's like a orange folder news, so it's not, it could have some impact on the market at 8:30. But other than that, oh shoot, we have FOMC this week. Wow. Wednesday's gonna be a crazy day. So FOMC is Wednesday, wow. Can you make new boxes? I don't know if you're trolling or you're being serious. I can make a bunch of boxes. There are, I mean, you can continuously make new boxes. You got another gap right there. You got another gap right there. Then you have another bearish gap right there. Very tiny bearish gap though. Now you have another bullish gap right there. I mean, there's gaps all the time forming in the market. Not, well, a lot of the time. I was just in Daytona. That's crazy. Daytona's it's a pretty cool place. There's not too much to do in Daytona other than NASCAR. It's a cool chill. I guess it's a cool chill spot. Like if you just go for vacation, chill at the beach. But I'm like an hour away from Daytona. I'm in Jacksonville. How many trades do you make a week roughly, and how many of those are successful? I would say on average, I take about 1 trade per day. Very rarely will I take 2 trades per day, and that's just because I look for one really good setup per day and I take it. Depending on the week, you know, I can take losses, but a lot of my losses are pretty small just because like I've been getting pretty good with my risk management. A lot of times I'll get out of a trade early and take a very small loss, you know. So it depends. Like this past week has been a little, I've been taking some small losses, so it depends. I mean, I can't really, it's hard to say. But, you know, one of my winners can, you know, can take out a lot of, you know, like 1 or 2 losses maybe, depending on how I size. It's hard to say because the sizing is always different, right? Like this last trade, I mean, I didn't size in heavy. I sized in light. So when I do take a full size trade that I really like, it'll, you know, eat away a lot of those losses. But for me to take a full size trade, I have to really like the trade and for it to look really nice, for it to like, you know, nothing stopping me from price getting to my target, like pretty much a straight shot. But at least, yeah, I take it at least 1 trade a day. And that's a day, I mean in the morning. I typically trade from like 9:30 to 11 o'clock. I'll stay on just to answer questions, but that's my main trading. Canadian CPI? No, this is United States. This is United States FOMC and CPI. CPI, we don't have CPI this week. We have PMI this week. Thursday is going to be another big news day. We have PMI on Thursday. We have news at 8:30 on Thursday. We have news at 9:45 on Thursday, and we have news at 10 a.m. on Thursday. So Thursday is going to be a day with jam-packed news, and then Friday, no news again. So Wednesday, FOMC. Thursday, a lot of news. So this week, there's a lot of things. Tomorrow, not so much. Just 8:30, a little bit of news. What determines a full-size trade? I'm new to this, so I got a lot of questions. So me, yeah, questions is fine. I don't mind answering questions. So for me, this took to be honest with you, this took a long time for me to learn. This was something that I learned years down. To be able to, what I used to do is I used to go full size into every single position. So I had big winners and I had big losers. Now I kind of learned to, I adjust my size based on, and this kind of just comes with experience. Like you can't really teach someone this. It comes with experience and based on your own strategy, what you use. For me, right? For example, I'll take you through like the thought process of the last trade I took this morning, right? Like this trade. Let me see. Where's that gap? So why I went a little bit lighter in size? Why wasn't this a full-size position for me? And I'll explain. I'll kind of explain what would have made this a full-size position. So, right, I ended up getting long. We took out these lows, inversed this gap right here. This gap, bearish gap, got inversed while sweeping a major sell side like liquidity. So I went long at the close of this 1 minute candle, right? And I took profits pretty conservatively. My profits were right there. You could see. If I would have took profits at these highs, like I said earlier, why didn't I take profits even at these highs? I didn't take them. I would have gotten stopped out on this trade if my stop wasn't like right where it was. So the reason I went light on this size is because it's got a lot to get through. I understood going into this trade, we have a resistance right here. So we have this old support turned into new resistance, plus paired with there's a gap right there. So I understood me getting long right here, price could push up here into this resistance, into this gap, and then it could reverse right off that. So that's why the more levels price has to get through to get to my TP, right? I size down based on the levels it has to get through, right? That's exactly why I didn't have my take profit above these internal highs, but I had my take profit here because we have the 200-day right there, and we have the view op right there. And I understood price is going to have a hard time right here getting through all this crap, getting through view op, getting through the 200, right? And it did have a hard time and ended up selling off. So that's why I kind of took profit there, and that's why I sized down, because there's so much to get through to get to my TP. Now I did get to my TP, but what would have made this a full-size position? If the 200 wasn't right here, if the view op wasn't there, if this gap, right, if this resistance wasn't here, if this gap wasn't here, and we kind of just had a straight shot to my TP without any gaps, resistance, and I'm looking at chart, I'm looking at it like, okay, we have a straight shot for those highs. There's nothing stopping price. There's nothing that should stop price from getting there. So then I would size in heavy, because higher probability it's going to get to my TP. So the lower probability it gets to my TP, the more I'll size down. That's kind of how I look at it. And like I said, it just comes, I guess, with experience, but that's how I look at it. And I think that's an important part of trading to learn eventually, because you want to have, as a trader, you're going to take losses. That's a given. There's no such thing as trading without taking losses. So you want to have your trades where you take potentially small loss. You know, you have a win, maybe a small win, a medium-sized win, a small loss, and then you take a really good trade, and that eats away all your small losses because you took a full-size trade and ended up hitting profit. Now, that being said, there is a possibility where you could take a full-size trade and still get stopped out. So that's why you have to have your risk management. You have to size accordingly to allow yourself for some drawdown, because nothing is perfect in the market. Just because I take a trade and it's higher probability doesn't mean it can't go against me, you know? That's all. Look at the market as probabilities. That's how you look at it, as probabilities. That's it. Market's very similar to like poker, right? People that play poker, it's probability based. Same thing as the market. And that's exactly how I look at it. It's probability based. So when I get out of a trade early, it's because probability is shifting against me, and there's a higher probability that trade can hit my stop loss than go to my TP. So I'll just get out early. Worst case scenario, I can always re-enter the trade. So, but that's a different thing, whether you should re-enter or not. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Right now, price is gonna just, I think, go sideways. It's not really doing much. We're already at, 12 o'clock. I gotta go. I keep talking, and dude, I could do this all day, honestly. I don't know about trading all day, but I could stay live all day. But as far as levels, right? I mean, it's taken out pretty much my major levels, right? Let me go on the 15-minute time frame. You'll be able to see these 15-minute levels I have marked out. Pretty much took them out perfectly. This was the first 15-minute level. Look at that. Tapped it perfectly. Massive sell-off. Here's the next 15-minute level I had marked out. Boom. Took out that 15-minute level. Buyer stepped in for, aggressive buying pressure. So pretty much this level already got taken out. Took a trade off of this level. This level got taken out. So my only other level to potentially take a short off of is this very top level. And as you could see where price sits right now, for it to get to all the way up here, it's going to take a pretty long time. So I don't want to sit here and have to wait all day for that. So I took a win already, took my profits. Better to walk away from the trade, and I'll be back tomorrow. That being said, I'll be back tomorrow at 9:30. So if you want to stop by, chill, I'll be back. Stop by. Other than that, y'all have a wonderful day. If you're going to keep on trading, be careful. If you're in profit, maybe it's better just to walk away, take your profits, and go do something else. If you took a loss, maybe it's also better to just walk away, take a small loss, come back tomorrow, But if you're gonna keep trading, be patient. You know, be careful. Don't take any stupid trades. If you do take a trade, make sure you get out of the trade. Understand that there's always be tomorrow. There's no reason to get into a trade, cancel your stop loss, and blow your account, right? There will be tomorrow. Tomorrow will come. The market will open tomorrow. The market will open, you know, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So there's no reason to go full port. There's no reason to risk too heavy. Just be smart, you know. Don't blow your account on stupid trades. So that being said, yeah, peace out. Have a good day, and I'll be back tomorrow.